So there's an interstellar visitor making its way through our solar system, and it's breaking all the rules. It's a comet called 3I/Atlas, and it has scientists completely stumped. The whole mystery kicks off with one simple, totally impossible observation. Get this, its tail points towards the sun. Yeah, you heard that right. That just shouldn't happen. It flies in the face of basic physics. The solar wind is supposed to push a comet's tail away from the sun, always. So what in the world is going on here? And this is just the first clue in a cosmic detective story that's about to get a whole lot weirder. And this whole wrong way tail thing, it's not just some weird one-off quirk. It's actually just the tip of the iceberg and a whole cascade of bizarre behaviors that our standard models just can't seem to explain. It's like the list of weirdness just keeps growing. First, you've got this stable tail pointing right at the sun. Then there's this intense green glow, but the chemical that's supposed to cause it, it's nowhere to be found. Its chemical signature's super weird too. Tons of nickel, but missing the iron that should always be with it. And the light bouncing off of it is polarized in a way that scientists thought was impossible. Oh, and to top it all off, it's somehow sped up by about 15% for no apparent reason. This isn't just one puzzle. It's a whole box of them all tangled together. Okay, so when scientists see something this strange, where do they even start? Well, usually with the simplest explanation. So, suspect number one, this whole thing is just a trick of the light, a kind of geometric illusion. So, the conventional theory is that we're seeing what's called an anti-tail. The basic idea is that as we, here on Earth, pass through the comet's orbital plane, our perspective changes. We end up looking at the trail of heavier dust the comet left behind, and from our specific angle, it just looks like a spike pointing toward the sun. It's a pretty clever explanation, but does it really account for all the other weird stuff we're seeing? But what if it's not an illusion? That brings us to suspect number two, and this one is way, way more out there. This theory suggests we're not seeing a trick at all. We're seeing the effects of a powerful, maybe even brand new, physical force at work, a kind of magnetic engine. So here's where we're at. It's a showdown between two big ideas. Is this a trick of the light, where the sunward tail is just an illusion and all those other weird anomalies are just separate, disconnected puzzles we have to solve? Or are we looking at a new physical force, where the tail is absolutely real and all those bizarre clues are actually symptoms of one single powerful process? Okay, so this wild new theory is called the magnetometallic attraction hypothesis, or MMA for short. Here's how it's supposed to work in 3 steps. First, the comet's composition. It's spewing out huge amounts of ferromagnetic nickel. Second, that nickel dust gets polarized. The plasma cloud around the comet basically acts like a furnace, turning all those little dust grains into tiny aligned magnets. And third, attraction. This stream of microscopic magnets is then physically pulled towards the sun's powerful magnetic field, creating a very real, physical tail that points right at it. Okay, but wait a second. How can some weak magnetic pull possibly win against the constant, massive push of the solar wind? That's a fair question. Well, the theory goes that the sun's magnetic field isn't this smooth, even thing. It's full of powerful, concentrated rivers of magnetic energy. And if the comet happens to fly through one of these magnetic currents, that pull is more than strong enough to overpower the solar wind, yanking that nickel dust right toward the sun. And this wild idea, it also has a really cool explanation for that mysterious green glow. The MMA hypothesis says the color isn't chemical at all, it's physical. The best way to think about it is like a ruby laser. The stream of nickel dust is like the ruby crystal, and the sun's energy is the power source that's pumping it, getting those nickel atoms so excited that they start emitting their own brilliant green light. The tail isn't just reflecting sunlight, it's literally glowing on its own. All right, so there you have it. Two competing theories. On one hand, a simple illusion. On the other, a whole new kind of physics. So how do we decide? Well, like any good detective, we follow the evidence. So where does the hard evidence actually point? Are we looking at a random cloud of dust created by a trick of perspective, or something else entirely? Something far more organized and profound? And here's our first piece of smoking gun evidence. When scientists analyzed the light from the tail, they found this: an unprecedentedly deep and narrow negative polarization branch. Now, that's a total mouthful, I know, but what it means is actually pretty simple and, honestly, mind-blowing. It means the light is scattering off particles that are highly organized and all aligned in the same direction, not a random, chaotic cloud of dust. This is exactly what the magnetic MMA hypothesis predicted, and it's something the simple illusion theory just can't explain. But it gets even better. This might be the final nail in the coffin for the old theory. Remember that intense green glow? The standard textbook cause for that in comets is a molecule called diatomic carbon, or C2. But when astronomers looked for it in Comet Atlas, they found nothing. Zero. Not a trace. The one chemical that's supposed to be causing the color just isn't there. This completely contradicts the standard model, but it lines up perfectly with the MMA prediction that the glow isn't chemical at all. It's physical, coming from the energized nickel itself. So when you lay out all the clues, the evidence really starts to point away from a simple trick of the light and towards something much, much deeper, a far more complex reality. And honestly, the implications of this are huge. You know, the researchers who came up with this new idea, they argue that just waving this away with a childlike explanation of a light trick, well, that's missing the whole point. The evidence is telling us that we might be looking at a much more fundamentally complex paradigm, a whole new physical process we've never actually seen before. And I think the lead author of this hypothesis, Alexander Campaign, really hits the nail on the head when he says imagination is the key to unlocking the complexity of the universe. It's a great reminder that sometimes to really understand something new, we have to be willing to imagine possibilities that go way beyond the simple answers we already know. And that just leaves you wondering, right? If this one comet isn't an illusion, it makes you think, what other cosmic mysteries have we dismissed as simple tricks of the light? What other profound new physics might be out there, just waiting for us to take a closer look?